Good morning everyone. I am Hemant Mehta, and in today's session we are going to discuss about the expression language, also known as EL in the JSP. Expression language is one of the alternative to write down your Java code in the JSP file. The EL simplifies the accessibility of data stored in the Java bean component and other objects like request, session, application, etc. There are many implicit objects, operators and the reserved words available in the EL. It's a newly added feature in the JSP technology in the version 2.0. Now first of all, what is expression language? The expression language provides a way to simplify the expression in the JSP. It is a simple language used for accessing the implicit objects in the Java classes. For manipulating a collection in an elegant manner, EL provides the ability to use a runtime expression outside the JSP scripting elements. So right now you are using a scripting elements to write down the Java code, directives and the action tag, but without using JSP scripting elements, you can work with the Java code using a expression language. Now there is a two framework available with us that is called Java Server Faces, which is used for the designing UI. It is purely built upon the Java, and the Java Server Pages, where you can write down your Java code along with the presentation logic. Both will use the expression language. Now the problem is that Java Server Faces is using a deferred expression language, and the Java Server Pages uses the immediate expression language. So whenever we are working with the JSF, the developer found that the JSF is used for the rendering GUI components, and there needs a runtime evaluation of the expression. So deferred evaluation, that means that the technology using the unified expression language takes over the responsibility of evaluating the expression from the JSP engine and evaluates the expression at the appropriate time during the page lifecycle. But JSP expression language is designed for the immediate evaluation only. Another problem is JSF components needs a way to invoke the methods on the server side objects during the various stages of the life cycle in order to validate the data and handle the component events. Whenever you studied the JSF chapter, you will encounter the standard UI components of the JSF like h: command button, h: input text, h: output text. These are the standard UI components. So during the form, this standard component value should be handled, and that will be handled at the server side using a JSF deferred expression language. JSP functions are not sufficient because they can use to call the static methods which are defined in the TLD file. During the taglib directive, we have discussed the one particular thing, %taglib, URI equal to something, prefix equal to something. That URI will have the location of the .tld file, that is called the tag library descriptor, in which we have defined the mapping for your custom tag. So whatever function is defined in your TLD file, that function are invoked using a JSP expression language. You cannot call any public methods which are available in any of the Java classes, right? That is a limitation of the JSP expression language, that is also called the immediate expression language. For all these reasons, we need a powerful expression language to work with both JSP and the JSF. The new unified expression language essentially represents a union of JSP and the JSF expression language and largely benefits the JSF technology. So the unified expression language was introduced to overcome this two problems. One, that is, we need some of the way by which we can call or invoke the deferred expression on the server side components, and the second, JSP expression language is not capable enough to call any of the public methods which are available in your any of the bean classes and the Java classes. It can only call the static methods which are available in the TLD file. So to avoid these two problems, the unified expression language is proposed. And these are the features of the unified expression language are: deferred evaluation of the expression, supports for expression that can set values and expression that can invoke the methods, supports for using a JSTL iteration text with deferred expression. We will study what is JSTL in the upcoming sessions. This is the syntax. There is a dollar followed by the curly braces. Inside that you can write down your expression. That is called the immediate expression language, generally used with the JSP. Now we are going to discuss the implicit objects of expression language. In the earlier session we have already studied the implicit objects of JSP. That is a different one. Now these are the implicit objects of expression language. So we are having a page request session in the application scope. So basically it will fetch the values on the given level of the scope. That is a page scope, a request scope, session scope, and the application scope. If you want to pass the single parameter, you can use a param. If you want to pass more than one parameter values, you can use a param values. If you want to pass a single header name, you can use a header. If you want to pass multiple values, you can use a header values. If you want to use a cookie, you can use a cookie. Implicit objects of expression language. If you want to pass the initializing parameters, you can use the init param. And if you want to access any object at any level of the scope, you can use a page context. So these are the expression language implicit objects. Let's see in detail. Page context object. The page context object will give you the access to the page context JSP object. Through the page context object, you can access a request scope object, session scope, page scope, or the application scope. So what you can do, you can simply write down dollar. In the curly braces, just write down page context dot name of the scope, that is a request, session, application, or the page dot query string. Okay, the scope objects, you can say page scope, request scope, session scope, and the application scope. So if you want to access the parameter at the application level, you can simply write down dollar application scope dot name of the attribute, that is application scope dot box. So we are having a one attribute, namely box, available at the application scope level, so it will fetch the value for the same. So similarly you can use for the session and the request. The next one is called param and the param values object. The param and the param values objects give you access to the parameter values normally available through the request.get parameter, or you can say request.get parameter values. So in the servlet you have studied the request.get parameter method or request.get parameter values method in the form processing, JSP form processing, right? The same replacement is available over here. You can write down dollar curly braces param.order. Order is the parameter name, or you can simply write down dollar curly braces param in the square bracket, write down order. These are the syntax. The param object returns a single value. It can be a string or anything, whereas param values object returns a string array. Let's see the one more example. Let's say I'm having a one string title, namely accessing the request parameter. So in my code I'm just going to write down dollar param username. This will print the value. We can assume that username is coming from one previous page. Then the param object. Simple example of EL. Let's say I'm having an index.jsp file. I'm passing a one parameter, that is a name. Value will be forwarded to the process.jsp file. This is the process.jsp file. I want to print the name, right? So I'm just going to write down dollar curly braces param, that is my implicit object, dot name. It will fetch the value of the name parameter. Header and the header values. Header and header objects, header value objects give you access over the header values normally available through the request.getHeader method, right? For example, if you want to access the user agent information, you can simply write down dollar header.user-agent, or you can simply write down dollar curly braces header, the square bracket, write down the attribute name. Let's say user hyphen agent. This is the example for the same. How you can find out the user agent information. This will be the output. On your screen you can see the user agent information. It will give you the information about the Mozilla Firefox, what kind of .NET version you are using, what kind of system you are using. Likewise, you can have the details about the header. Header user hyphen agent, that is the one of the attribute of the header. Okay. Now the session object. Session. So you can fetch the values available at the session level. Let's say I'm having one index.jsp file. I'm having one attribute over here in the session. I can write down session.set attribute user comma Sonu. User, that is my attribute name, Sonu, that is the attribute value. Now I want to fetch this value from the process.jsp file. So using a hyperlink, I will navigate to the process.jsp file, and I'm just going to fetch the value. Like value is dollar, that is my immediate expression. Dollar is known as immediate expression language operator. Dollar curly braces, just write down session scope dot name of the attribute. What is the name of the attribute? That is a user. So it is just going to print the Sonu. So these were the objects, implicit objects of expression language. Thank you.